Hi there, welcome once again to the Dukascopy TV studio here in Geneva. I'm Ben Jones. Dr. Frank Hollenbeck is back alongside us. Dr. Frank, thank you very much for joining us once again.
Well, it's always good to be here.
So we're going to go straight in and discuss arguably the biggest story of the week, the Scottish referendum tomorrow. What are you expecting? Do you think that we will see a yes vote?
Well, it's going to be a very close vote. Okay, I would like to see a yes vote, and the reason is because when we reduce the size of a country, we more than reduce the size of the power of the governments. Okay, you wouldn't have the state of Minnesota bombing Iraq at the moment. Okay, that wouldn't happen. Okay, and there's a lot of talk about if Scotland goes independent, they could ultimately end up as the Singapore of the North. I find that highly unlikely to occur, primarily because there's a very strong socialist element in the Scottish, let's say, independence vote. In the sense that instead of saying, well, we want independence because we want more liberty, we want more freedom, basically the saying is we want more independence because we're going to end up with more government welfare. In other words, instead of getting government welfare from the UK government, okay, you're going to get government welfare from the money that we get from North Sea oil. Okay, so for me, it's basically we're likely to end up with a more socialist country than a less socialist country. We have to remember that 25% of Scottish workers work for the UK government, and 40 MPs are actually Labour MPs, and Labour is just simply, you know, the UK Socialist Party.
Okay, very interesting. Now, while you're here, I'd also like to get your opinion on Europe at the moment. Obviously, we've seen Germany, France and Italy all with not strong data, we can say. So do you think this theme is going to continue?
Well, as we can see, Europe is slowing down, and I actually predicted it in an interview I did back in the spring. I said that if we're going to impose sanctions on Russia, it's going to have a negative effect on Germany, and Germany is at the moment the locomotive of European growth. Okay, and I was actually opposed to the sanctions because I believe that you don't shoot yourself in the foot to punish your neighbor. Okay, but what we have in Europe is we're likely to continue to have basically no growth. Okay, if we look at real GDP, we can see that in Europe we have a GDP level that's less than it was back in 2008, and in Europe, you know, excluding Germany, we basically have had no growth. Okay, and the reason is because we've been implementing the wrong type of austerity. Okay, we've been raising taxes, but we haven't really cut government expenditures. The type of cuts we need is something that we did in Latvia. Okay, in Latvia, for example, we cut the role of government was reduced from 44% to 36% of the economy. We fired a third of the workforce, the government workforce. Public sector workers took 26% cut in salary, and ministers took a 35% cut in salary. That's what I call real austerity. Okay, how much of austerity have we seen in France and in Italy? How much has public sector salaries been reduced? Almost nothing. Okay, and we have to realize is that the reason Europe is in trouble today is because they had too generous public sector wage increases between 2001 and 2007. So if the cause of the problem was public sector wages, it seems to me that the correct type of austerity that we should have implemented would have been to cut public sector wages.
And finally, I'd like to get your take on the ECB at the moment. We've seen a further lowering of the interest rate and implication of quantitative easing. So what can we take from this?
Well, first, the ECB is using deflation as an excuse to basically print money. Okay, and I've actually written 2 articles, and I've actually criticized the European Central Bank in this article, but I've written 2 articles on deflation, and there's basically no theoretical or empirical reason to be fearful of deflation. For me, it's totally a false excuse. Now, the ECB is talking about quantitative easing and that it's going to purchase asset-backed securities, but we have have to realize that the market for asset-backed securities is relatively small. It's less than $1 trillion, okay? €1 trillion, I should say. And the ECB is somewhat constrained in the sense that they can only buy the highest quality tranches. So we're talking a relatively small amount of quantitative easing, okay? And the reason they're not actually purchasing government bonds is primarily because it actually goes against the Maastricht Treaty, okay? It actually goes against the Maastricht Treaty, and it's very likely that there would be serious opposition from Germany. They've already indicated that they would not accept the ECB purchasing government bonds because that would be just a monetization of the debt, okay? Even the one of Germany's highest courts indicated that it was anti-constitutional. So my view is that ultimately down the line, we're going to have a crisis, okay? We're going to have a crisis, and it's going to be, you know, France, Italy, maybe Spain, and the other EU countries, I should say the other Euro countries, and there's going to be a clash on what monetary policy should be. Okay, and the ECB will be between a rock and a hard place, and it'll have to make a decision. Okay, if it does purchase government bonds to basically monetize the debt, okay, then Germany will probably walk away from the euro, okay, and go back to the Deutschmark. Okay, and then France and Italy and all those other Euro countries will pay the price of hyperinflation, which is usually the end of fiat currency systems. So, you know, there is going to be a clash in the future. The thing about economics is that it usually takes a lot longer than you anticipated, but when it does occur, it's very fast. It's almost overnight.
Dr. Hollenbeck, once again, it's a pleasure having you in the studio.
Good to be here.
And thank you for watching. Do make sure you keep clicking back to Dukascopy TV, as we'll be bringing you plenty more updates and exclusive interviews. Bye for now.